Hi, how are you? My name is Heather. I am the artist with Duncan House Creative, and today we are going to do this wildflower floral wreath. So stick with me and I will show you how to do this. Alright, we are going to go over our supplies list first. We're going to be painting on black paper today. You don't have to paint on black paper, but I think it looks pretty cool. Make sure it's a pretty heavy cardstock. You're going to want to have watercolor paper or thicker paper because the watercolor will cause your paper to bend a bit, okay? We're going to be using this metallic watercolor palette from Art Philosophy. It's terrific. It's fabulous. It is called, well, I actually don't know, Semi-Watercolors, Metallic Accents. I thought maybe there was a color palette because I do know there might be some different shades out there too, but this is just their regular palette. We're going to be using a white Posca pen, a clean water well. I use a paper towel. I am going to be using a pencil today and some sort of round item. So today I'm going to be using this roll of masking tape, but you could get a bowl from your cabinet. You can get maybe a cup, something like that, just something round to use as a stencil, and then of course a brush, a paintbrush. Okay, let me tell you how we're going to do our tutorial. The steps we're going to take, first of all, if you would like to do yours horizontally, go for it. If you would like to do it vertically, go for it. Either way is fine. This would also make a really cute card. If you could find some blank cards at your local craft store, this would make a really cute card too. We're going to first stencil our circle so we can kind of see where we want our stuff. Then we're going to paint. We're going to start with our border around, and then we're going to do our flowers, and then lastly, after that is dry, we're going to add our Posca pen on top to really make our details pop. Alright? Okay, let's jump in. I'm going to start with stenciling our circle. So I'm going to use this piece of masking tape, go around it with a pencil pretty lightly. I don't want to have a really dark pencil line. I just want to have a really light pencil line. So if you can go around it pretty lightly, that's best. Okay, I have my shape drawn. You probably can't see it. It's probably not going to show up quite a bit, but it's there, I promise. Now, in order for me to use my metallic watercolors, I have to wake them up a bit. So I need to kind of get them wet, work them around a little bit. They're not like your typical watercolor where you can just add water and they're fine. You do kind of have to stir them around, wake up that metallic nature of them. Alright, we're going to start with our larger leaves. I like to start with them. I kind of envision down here, let me show you this. This is our finished product. So I'm going to kind of leave this space open and start with these leaves on the side. And basically these leaves just are a V. They kind of make a V shape. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and just drag my brush down. Do you see how my, up here, the tip of my leaf isn't really pointed? So I'm just going to add a point onto the tip of that leaf. I will say I am using the brush that came with this palette, but I have done this with other brushes and I do feel like those brushes work a little bit better. So if you have another watercolor brush, you might think about going to get it, but you don't have to. Now I'm just going to come and do these kind of, I guess I call them V's. But I'm always going to make sure that my V ends on the line where my circle is. Do you see that? The point of my V is always going to be where my my stencil is. So there's another one, and honestly I'm making these V's really large. They probably don't need to be this large. Another one, and another one. And if you want to connect them down here, you can, but you definitely don't have to. So, okay, so 3 on each side. I might add a little point to that. And notice that they're not all perfect, okay? We're not looking for symmetry here. We're looking for a little bit of just whimsy, okay? Give yourself some grace. Don't worry too much about that. Now, I like to add some smaller little leaves. And again, I just kind of do little V's, making sure that the tips of the V's end up on that stencil. V. Like that. Okay, cool. My V's are drawn, my leaves are drawn. They look so good. And then I'm going to wake up some of this orangey gold, and we're going to do the dirt, I guess we'll call it, in the middle here. And I'm gonna be really loose with this. I'm not gonna be super tight with it. And then I'm going to come over on top of that with this bronze. Wake that up a bit. That's the only problem with these they're not up, it's not a problem, but you do kind of have to work the paint just a bit. And I like to add that on top because it adds just a little bit of dimension. I have tried to add this light green on top of the dark green, and you can't really honestly tell that it's there. So, okay, now it's time for us to work on our flowers. I usually do 3 kind of flowers in the middle. I'm going to use some of this yellow, this middle kind of yellow. And remember, when you're working with design, you always want to do odd numbers. So I'm going to do some little centers of the flowers here. And I'm just kind of drawing little ovals, just painting little ovals. And then I'm going to come in with blue. Let me wake my blue up a bit. And I always say this, but I'm going to say it again. If you want to change up the color scheme here, go ahead. If you want some red flowers or some white flowers, white would be pretty, but you couldn't see the Posca pen on it too well, but white would be pretty. Now, I got my brush loaded up with the blue, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this blue down in little lines around that flower. Do you see that? It's really easy, and if it touches that yellow and gets into the yellow, it's totally okay. Don't worry about it. And it's okay too, like if right here there's some space in between the petals, that negative space, don't be scared of it. Awesome. There we go. Ah, it looks so good. Every time I do this, I just love it more and more. So, okay, so there's my kind of daisies, blue daisies. I don't think I've ever seen a blue daisy, but I bet they exist somewhere. I feel like people just create flowers now, like genetically engineered. Okay, colors and stuff. Now, while this is kind of drying, I'm going to come up here to the top, and I'm going to add some of these little blue... honestly, they're just going to be little dots. And I'm going to add 3. And they're just kind of little wild flowers. And notice how I did 1 over here and 2 inside. So I'm going to do 1 inside and 2 on the outside, just for some balance. And right now they look like little clouds, but I promise you, when we're done, they will look like flowers. Okay, now I'm going to add my kind of pink flowers. Wake this pink up. Awesome. There we go. And then for these, I'm kind of doing that little V flower that we did for the cactus, where I'm just going to pull these petals in. I don't even know if these are a certain type of flower. They're just kind of a flower that, like I say, they're wildflowers. We don't know what they are. I have no idea. Okay, so we've got our flowers drawn, leaves dirt, flowers. Now we're going to add some just little details. And I like to, so here's my blue flowers, and I'm just going to add little V's down as if I can see where their stalks are. So I know I'm gonna kind of want some stalks to come this way. And then I like to add just a little bit of grass. And I'm not gonna add leaves to the pink flowers. I'll just do that with the Posca pen. Okay, all of our painting is done. Now we just have to let this dry really good. I'm talking like super good before we add the Posca pen on top. All right, so get up, go make yourself a fun drink, depending on what time of day this is, and let it dry a bit, stretch your legs, and then after it's dry, come back, sit down, and we'll do the details, okay? So I'll be right here waiting for you to come back. Okay, my paint is completely dry. I'm touching it, making sure it's dry. It's dry. And now we're gonna go on top of our paint with our Posca pen, and we're just gonna really add some highlights. My highlights don't have to be your highlights, okay? You can totally add whatever highlights you feel are necessary, but I'll show you mine, and you might want to watch through this and then go back and replay it as you're drawing it, just so you don't make any mistakes, because once you apply this Posca pen, there's really no getting it off, okay? So I'm even going to kind of look at my other ones to see what I did. So what I'm going to do first is just go over these larger leaves by really just outlining them, okay? And whenever I do that, I also want to put like a vein in the middle of them because they are larger. I might not do that on my smaller leaves, just these larger ones. Okay? And notice how they come up. And then this one kind of bends back like that, so I'm gonna come back like that, down like that. I'll do these larger ones since we're on that. And again, make sure you don't pump this pen on your paper. If you do, you will get a huge glop. And if you feel like your Posca pen is running out of ink, just come over and get another sheet of paper and just kind of press up and down, and the paint will start flowing out of it, okay? So I'm gonna come over here, do this, and then add some little lines there. Okay, now I have these smaller guides. I'm just going to make these, honestly, they're almost like little hearts. Like that. And notice how I'm not perfect. There's some, I'm getting out of the lines a little bit. And I like that look. I like that look of being a little bit whimsical. Now, where it's not perfect or abstract. I can tell you though that I have taught enough classes to know that not everybody likes that. A lot of people like perfect things, but I would ask you to really push your thinking on that. Okay, and then right up here where I can see this little line, I like to add maybe 4 dots on each side, just on that line. Now I'm going to do these flowers, and I just, honestly, I just kind of do a loose little outline of them, and then I come in and do maybe 3 or 4 dots, and that's my little loose flower. These would make really great little cards if you got some cards at, you have plenty of paint and plenty of ink in your Posca pen, but these would make really great cards for Christmas or something like that. You can even write, I'll show you over here, I'll write something on mine. Okay, now we're going to do these flowers in the middle. I kind of come up here and do some little white dots in the middle of the yellow. Just real loose, they don't have to be super close together. And then I just kind of come in and add a few white lines. it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, but I just kind of add some white lines where I think maybe it would add some highlight. Okay. And the same thing that we did with these little blue, I kind of do with these. This is a very loose. I follow this wonderful artist on Instagram. Her name is Amanda Evanston. I don't know if that's her name, but that's what she goes by. She even pushes the envelope, and sometimes she even draws those kinds of really loose lines with her non-dominant hand, which I think is so brave. So I've done that in some of my classes, especially with artists that I feel are willing to push themselves like that. Okay, now I'm just gonna add some little, oh, I think they're called billy balls. That's what the florist calls them, but you know those little yellow balls that are flowers? I'm just gonna add a couple of little white things like that. Maybe add some little dots here to fill in some space. Again, you do what feels natural to you. Okay, so I am finished with my wildflower floral wreath, we can call it. My friend Jamie, she always likes to make fun of me because she says that I always paint things like this. She's like, every time I see a laurel wreath, is what, you know, the crowns of victory kind of, she's like, I always think of you. So maybe I just like them, I don't know. But I'm happy to share them with you today. One thing you can also do, I might do it just really quickly on this one, and feel free to do them horizontal or vertical, is you can write like a little word. I put joy there, you know, or maybe you wanted to write it up here. Maybe you have a favorite Bible verse or a favorite quote, an inspirational saying, something like that. You could definitely add to something like this. This is something that you could hang up in a mirror, on a fridge, give to a friend, something that's really pretty and kind of inspirational. So feel free to add any kind of details like that if you want. All right, thank you so much for being here. I am so thankful that we spent this time in this space together. Really, it means the world to me that you have chosen to watch this, and if you're a subscriber to our box, thank you so much. You can also subscribe to our art box once a month. We do 4 different projects each month with a new medium, and this month was metallic watercolor. So thank you for being here, and I cannot wait to see you next time.